Howdy friends, and welcome back to the channel. There is a cool, crisp feel to the air, frost clinging to my plants. There is nothing like autumn to light a fire under you and get preserving. So we've already had our first frosts here. At least I think we have. I honestly haven't been paying attention to the weather that much, but it's been going down to like 2 degrees Celsius, some nights 0. Most of my plants still look okay, but I really need to get working on my culinary herbs. Now, I want to mention that in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a really great way to preserve them for cooking. But when I use these same plants for medicinal purposes, I really like getting them in their most vibrant state, which is right as they're beginning to flower. So in terms of making tinctures and medicine, this is not my favorite time of year. That being said, use what you have. But from a culinary perspective, my oregano, my thyme, my rosemary, all of them are still very aromatic, which means it's going to be perfect for what I have to do today. As you can see, my son has already been up to decorating for Halloween, so my herb beds have a bit of flair to them, including our poor little skeleton Bones. We've had him for a long time. This might be the end of his trip here on Earth, who knows? Anywho, as you can see, my thyme still looks really great, and I'm not gonna harvest these ones, okay? I'm going to harvest the vibrant green ones. I'm going to rub the plant between my fingers to see how that smells. Is it still aromatic? I have lots of really beautiful purple basil that I'm going to include. And so essentially what we're doing today, friends, is we're going to be making a herbal blend that you can then freeze in olive oil. And you'll have a mixed herbal olive oil cube that you can then thaw and use in all of your cooking. So I want you to think about what flavors do you like the most. So this can be used in things like salad dressings. This can be used in stir fries or drizzled over rice or cauliflower rice, flavorings of any kind, anything you would use herbs and olive oil for. So you may not want to do a mixture. See, my rosemary still looks great. I have better oregano in my greenhouse, but this marjoram still looks fabulous. So I'm going to use all of these plants today. So as I was saying, I want you to think about how you cook and how you use herbs. If oregano, rosemary, and thyme, those three, that trifecta, always make an appearance in all of your dishes, then you can use all three of them. If you want to do this with just rosemary, just oregano, just thyme, just marjoram, sage, you can do that. But today I'm going to be doing a blend. So I'm going to get to harvesting. I'm basically just going to harvest a whole bunch of herbs. So I'm going to include sage, basil, oregano, rosemary, thyme, and marjoram. I might actually add, I've got some really great second round of lemon balm, and I love having that lemon flavor in there. I plan on using these in all the ways that I just mentioned. So like drizzled over cauliflower rice, if you want to make a steak and you like using olive oil, right, you can do that with them. I plan on using them on potatoes and as salad dressings. And so think about how you want to do this. There's no wrong way. So if you want to do individual cubes, you can do that. If you want to do a blend like me, you can do that as well. One last thing, so when you're harvesting your herbs, I want you to think about, especially if you're doing a blend like me, I've got my bowl filled with a beautiful blend. I did decide to add some lemon balm, I've got rosemary, thyme, everything I mentioned. But some flavors are stronger than others. So sage, for example, I've harvested less of because I find it to be a very strong flavor profile. And so I want you to think about that too. Rosemary, not dump truck. Rosemary can be overpowering as well, so I want you to think about the amounts. Whereas I love rosemary, so I've included quite a bit. So there's no exact measurements or ratios with this. Once my son is done his French lesson, because if you haven't seen our homeschool video, you should check it out. But I don't teach French. So once he's done that, I can get inside and start filming and show you the work that needs to be done once you're in there. But before we get to my kitchen, I want to mention, for those who are watching this fairly soon after it's been recorded, I am going to be hosting a 3-day free masterclass series in November. The dates are November 7th, 12th, and 14th. It's a live event. However, things will be recorded. It's called Roots to Wellness. Like I said, it's free. I'm going to put a registration link in the description below. If there is no registration link when you come back and look for this, you're probably going to be able to get the recordings in some way, shape, or form. So if you're watching this like a year from now, I'm sorry. So that is 2024, November 7th, 12th, and 14th. It'll be 3 live classes, but they will be recorded. So even if you can't make them live, I recommend registering, because you're going to get a link to an all access page where you can have, you can watch the recordings. Okay, I'm back inside with my big, beautiful bowl of herbs. Now, before you get to chopping, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done, because nobody wants to be munching down on stems, either in your salad dressing or however you're going to choose to use this. And a lot of these plants, including thyme, rosemary, oregano, have fairly woody stalks. And so what you're going to want to do is actually strip off all the leaves and discard this main stalk. Now, some plants, it's a little bit more time consuming than others. What's really nice about things like, you can do this with rosemary, thyme, and oregano, is, okay, so it grows up this way. I'm actually going to flip it so it's kind of, right, going the opposite direction. And I'm just going to slide my hands down the stem, and then all the leaves come off. And so I'm going to do this with all the plants that have like a woody stalk. For my lemon balm, I'm just going to go in and individually pull off all the leaves. So what you're going to be left with is a beautiful pile of mixed herbs that don't have any of these stalks or stems. So here I can show you with thyme. It's a little smaller, right? But there you go. So we don't want this piece. It's actually fairly woody. So I'm just going to turn it and go the opposite direction in which it grows. And then all that green stuff comes off, leaving me with just the woody stalk. So I'm going to turn the camera off for this part because it's boring, and I'll meet you back here once you have all of your herbs prepped. From here, you're going to need a good kitchen knife, olive oil, and some ice cube trays. I have all of my herbs destemmed. And what I try to do is I try to like mix them up in the pile, so that way as I'm chopping, I'm getting a nice blend of everything in my final product. And so you can use any old knife you want. I highly recommend using a Mezzaluna. I have had this one for about 18 years. So the one that I'm going to post in the description below is the one I would purchase if I had to replace this one. But I got this from a little kitchen shop in downtown Markham Village, like I said, about 18 years ago. So I can't actually post this one, but I have one very similar linked below. I would recommend avoiding the ones that have multiple blades, because everything just gets all gummed up in there. So what you want to do is chop your herbs finely, and then I'll show you the next step of the process. So as you can see, I have my herbs finely chopped, and we're just going to be using a standard size ice cube tray for this. And we're going to kind of loosely fill about a tablespoon, and we're going to fill each one of these vessels. You don't want to fill them all the way, and you can use less based on how much you harvested, but I'd say you want to fill them at least half of the way full. So as you can see, I got about 1.5 trays filled, and now your next part of the job is to fill with a good quality olive oil, preferably one from a reputable source, so you know you're actually getting olive oil. Now it does help to have a little container like this just to help control the pour. And I'm just going to fill. And what I want to avoid is to have it spill out over the edge here. So that's why if you don't have like a pouring container like this, you could transfer your olive oil to a measuring cup, something with a spout that makes it just a tad easier. All right, so what I'm doing now is as the olive oil kind of settles, you'll see it kind of bubble. Sometimes I'll go through with a chopstick and I'll just stir up each of the cubes and then top off the olive oil. That makes sure you've got a little bit more of an even distribution, but the herbs are probably going to still sink during the freezing process. So this step might be unnecessary. I don't know, but I like to do it. Yeah. Once you have your ice cube trays filled, you're going to want to transfer them to a freezer. Try to make sure it's somewhere flat and level so that way you have even freezing. It's probably going to take about 24 hours to ensure that it freezes all the way through, and then you can just pop out the cubes and store them in a container of your choosing. Ziploc bag, glass Pyrex dish, it really doesn't matter. Just make sure you label them, because if you do this with a lot of different herbs, they're all going to look the same. And so you're not going to know which one is basil or thyme or rosemary, especially if you chop them all really fine. It can be difficult to tell the difference. You tell yourself you're going to know, but guess what? Come February, when you're in your freezer pulling them out, they're all going to look the same. So how do I use these? When it comes to things like soups, stews, stir fries, I will often just pop them in the pan frozen. And as the pan is warming up, then the olive oil melts and then the herbs will end up in that final dish. If I'm going to use it as either a dressing or something to put on top of something, I would just thaw the cubes about a day beforehand. It usually happens a bit faster than that. And of course, if you're in a rush, then you can warm it up another way. Now, if you've got any questions or comments about this, you know what to do, leave those below. Don't forget to sign up for that 3-day masterclass series, Roots to Wellness. There's information in the description below. It's 3 free classes with me. And even if you can't make them live, don't worry, you get access to the recordings as long as you registered. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.